All right. Good morning, everyone. Big welcome to the very first webinar we organized with CoachUp. I'm super excited to have you all here for the first one, which is kicking procrastination's ass, overcoming self-sabotage and to boost your productivity. I'm Coach Lex. Welcome very much. So a little bit about CoachUp before we start. CoachUp is a coaching company for mid-level executives. We focus on leadership coaching and on career coaching. Our clients are world-class Singapore, but also from the United States. We thrive. We do very well in delivering success to our coaches, and that's pretty much why we started CoachUp in the first place. In the near future, we'll also be expanding into coaching training together with our partners in Bangkok and in the United States. Now, that's a little bit about us, a little bit more about today's topic. Guess what? How did I come up with this topic? I wasn't quite sure which topic to go for. And ultimately, I realized that the reason why I hadn't started yet was probably because I was just procrastinating. So it was somewhat of a logical choice for us to go on to a topic regarding procrastination. So we're diving deep into procrastination today, what it is, how it manifests itself, and how to break away from it. So we'll be providing a lot of tangible strategies, actionable strategies that you can do, that you can take to stop self-sabotaging yourself towards achieving your real goal. We will be handing out a freebie as well. So the freebie, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's going to be fun to the person who actually puts in the most questions. So we have somebody else from my team is also monitoring the chat box. And then at the end of the session, the one with the most questions will reach out personally, provide you with your personal token. As well as everybody who stays until the end will get a special offer as well. All right, everybody ready to kick some procrastination's ass? Awesome. Let's do this. So let's first deep dive into what procrastination or self-sabotaging really is. So obviously, it's about a behavior that hinders our progress. So these actions that we take that are actively preventing us from achieving and reaching our goals. So the tricky part about self-sabotage is that it's often subconscious. So we might not even realize we are doing this. And of course, as topic of this webinar, how to kick its ass, self-sabotage very likely is going to achieve your productivity. And that means that you're going to be working less effective, less efficient. You're going to be slowing down towards your goals or towards your professional goals. And throughout this session, obviously, we'll uncover ways how we can hold ourselves, how we are holding ourselves back, and how we're going to turn around for the better. Oh, it's just a side note, I forgot to mention this. Any questions, you can just pop it into the chat box and the team will surface them to me, and then we might answer them along the way. Alrighty. So when we talk about self-sabotaging behaviors, so what does that look like? There's basically 3 times a way of self-sabotaging your success. We're going to say self-sabotaging and procrastination a lot today. Please do not take any shots. If you take any shots on any of those words, you're less likely to retain any of the knowledge that we share today. So the first one is intentional avoidance. So this is when we consciously put off tasks that we know are important, like I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it later. But oftentimes it turns into this thing where we said, shit, I should have done this yesterday, or I should have done this earlier, I should have done this when I still have time. But this is really a matter of prioritization, right? Putting other things with a relatively higher importance above that thing that you should be doing. Next up, negative self-talk. So we all have that little voice in our head. If you've seen Inside Out 2, you've heard this voice saying, I'm not good enough. We all have a voice similar to that. It says different things, but we often tell ourselves we're not good enough, smart enough, we don't have enough time, we're not capable enough, all that stuff. It's a constant stream of words in the back of your head that serve or not serve you. Oftentimes, whatever this little voice tells you, it turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's the second way of self-sabotaging your success. Don't take a shot. And the last one is a fear of failure. So this is actually something that we see quite frequently in our clients, surprisingly enough, right? We're driven, we want to achieve stuff, but ultimately it's a very paralyzing thing. What if you actually unlock that next level? Then what problems will occur? The root here that you'll find is often in the fear of the unknown. Like if I unlock this, then I get all these new problems and responsibilities, and it's just paralyzing. So the fear of succeeding stops us from trying in the first place. Now, again, right, number 2 and 3 are very much subconscious. These are not things we do actively. These are not things we notice on a day-to-day. So what's the good news? They're all manageable. With the right strategies, with the right actionable strategies that we'll be sharing throughout this webinar, you're able to, kick its ass, right? That's what we promise you today. You'll have strategies to kick ass. I got some water and some coffee, by the way, guys. It's 9:30-ish a.m. here in Singapore. I know there's some people from the US. Thanks for joining. It's 8:30 p.m. in your place, or maybe even 10:30 p.m. So bear with me. It is still early. All right. So what other self-sabotaging behaviors are there? This is a very funny one. Perfectionism. If you have unrealistically high standards, that voice in your head is going to be telling you like, it's not good enough. I should do better. It's not perfect. Is it really worth doing it this way? So this is keeping us back from actually delivering something because we're constantly in self-doubt about whether it is or is not perfect enough. Blame shifting, which is interesting as well. It is about avoiding responsibility. So instead of saying, hey, I should do this, or this is my fault, I'm going to own up to the mistake, we're actually pointing the finger at circumstances. Like, it was a busy day. I had to do the dishes. I had to do this or whatever. This was more important. Or then my friend called and then I couldn't do this anymore. So this behavior blocks growth because we can't learn from the experiences. We refuse to acknowledge that we have a role in the outcome. Instead, we blame it on someone else. Something I've seen with many of our clients, to be very honest, it is blame shifting, a lack of being at cause is what we often call it. However, being at effect. So instead of I produce change, I can control stuff, I can make an effort, it's I am a victim of the situation. And with that mindset, again, subconscious, you won't be able to make any changes. And the last one, over control. So when you try and control everything, it might seem like a good strategy, right? You have like full control, but actually, if you want to control everything, it often leads to a depleted energy level, also known as a burnout. I've been there myself once, a long time ago. I learned from it, right? If we go back to the previous slide, we want to learn. It's not fun at all. So it's very important to find a balance in what is perfect, what is good enough, what is not good enough, what impact do I have, and what should I control? What should I control? Because we cannot control everything. And attempting to do so actually just creates more stress than anything else, and it really will delay the progress. So why am I sharing all of this stuff? So recognizing the behavior is obviously the first step to freeing yourself from self-sabotaging behavior and become more productive and satisfied with your efforts, right? This is also a major point, is being happy with what you do. Has anybody up here, just pop in number 1, 2, or 3 in the chat box? Just pop it in there, guys. Yeah. So I see a bunch of 1s. I see a bunch of 2s. Less so on the 3s. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so and it's perfectly fine to have very high standards, and it's perfectly fine to shift blame until today. Because today we're going to get these actionable strategies that will move you forward as opposed to keeping you stuck. But thanks for sharing, everyone. All right. So how and why is this whole self-sabotaging, procrastination, why is this a problem? Let's put it out there. Why is this a problem? So, right, we just looked at some symptoms and like how it works. Now we're looking at the tangible output. So you're going to miss opportunities, short-term, long-term, and I'm also going to call out some symptoms that you might see in your surrounding. Right? If you haven't said in the previous slide number 1, 2, or 3, then this hopefully gives you a little bit more of an indication of where you sit. Hold on, guys, just drink some water. It's about 400 degrees Celsius out there, so it's quite warm. So missed opportunities in the short term will stall our progress, right? That means you will find yourself stuck in the same place as you were. You're not advancing in your career, your personal goals, or your relationships. On the longer term progress, how this will affect your mind is basically you'll get used to living with like regret because you didn't do all those things. You'll get lower self-esteem because you haven't achieved anything. All the things that you told yourself you would, it just doesn't materialize. And maybe even a belief that you are incapable of success. Now, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but who thinks that believing that you're incapable of success is a great strategy for success? Probably no one, because it's not. You do want to believe in yourself, and the longer term implications of missing out on opportunities actually very detrimental to your long term success. It might cause you to become increasingly hesitant of future opportunities. So, how do you notice this, right? Maybe it is your work desk that is like in movies filled with paperwork that you haven't done yet, deadlines being missed, or seeing that others are progressing in their relationship, their personal goals, or their career, and you feel like you're left behind. Unchecked to-do list, conversation with peers where you realize, wow, man, they're so far ahead of me. How did that happen? Just 2 years ago, we were peers, and now I feel left behind. So that's on the missed opportunity part. On the decreased output, it's very straightforward, right? Your quality and quantity of your work will suffer. Tasks take longer to complete. Results might be rushed, subpar even. Damage your reputation. People are not happy with your output. So that's all the short term. Longer term, right? If you continuously it will lead to a sense of incompetence and also frustration of yourself with yourself and frustration of your peers with you because they had expectations that you're not delivering on. This might, again, lead you to believe that you are less capable than others and not worthy of taking the lead, for example. Again, where do you see this? A backlog of work, stressing out over deadlines, overworking in the late nights to overcompensate for what you didn't do before, and probably like unsustainable working habits. And then lastly, I briefly touched on it before. It's a very dear topic to myself. Been there a long time ago when I was very young, and it's not fun. I was really afraid of my phone to the extent where every time it would ring, I would get like heart palpitations, and in weekends, I would just sit on the couch crying for hours. So short term, obviously, right, irritable, tired, unable to focus, just complete misery, and unable to zoom out from the work week. And I think the long-term implications of burnout have been noted on multiple occasions by several more renowned scientists than anxiety. It's just unhealthy altogether for your mind and your body. All right, today we'll be looking into the tangible strategies to deal with this. On the next slide, just very briefly, I want to quickly tap into, the mental blocks that keep you stuck. When we talk about the mental blocks, we said a lot of this stuff is subconscious. So I want to talk about beliefs that we hold. Now, not everybody is equally keen on beliefs and values, etc. I think beliefs are a pivotal and crucial point to success. Now, limiting beliefs are those that hold you back, right? As simple as that. It's something that you believe subconsciously that is holding you back from achieving something. So they are, it's called an invisible barrier in your head, that little voice that tells you I can't do this, I'm not good enough, or any of those negative thought patterns. So these beliefs often stem from past experience, failures, or societal conditioning or expectations that you felt personally that you didn't match up with. Emotionally, they create a sense of inadequacy, fear, incapability, all that stuff. Whereas once we become aware of those beliefs that are holding us back, it becomes very easy to change it. So for example, if you believe you're bad at math, you're less likely to attempt to solve a math problem. You're more likely to ask somebody else, hey, can you help me with this? But while you are doing that, it actually reinforces the beliefs that you're not capable and you need somebody else. So, right, to overcome this, we need to recognize that we have these self-imposed limitations and start challenging them with evidence of the contrary. So, right, I suck at math. Let me try and do it. Let me learn a little bit. Let me Google a little bit. Let me get better at it. Oh, wow, I fixed this thing. I solved the equation. Wow. Am I still bad at math? Probably not. So these are limiting beliefs. and we need to challenge them. I've seen clients that live their entire life stuck in a huge network of limiting beliefs. I'm not like this example, right? I'm not good at math. I don't think I should ask for help. There's so many things that hold us back. Now, coming back to the past experience part, particularly failures, those shape how we approach our current tasks. Now, logically, we may avoid situations that remind us our past failures because it's scary, and our brain is wired to keep us away from pain, right? All we want to do is not be in pain. Whereas logically it makes sense to avoid it, it actually reinforces the mindset of not trying. Obviously, emotionally, they create a fear of repeating the same mistakes, leading to avoidance and excessive caution. Now, in our brain, we'll repeatedly play these past experience and just keep on convincing ourselves of we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do this. For example, if you failed at public speaking before, the classic example of the kid on a stage at a school rehearsal taking a piss in his pants, that kid will have a lifelong fear of speaking publicly and avoid doing so. It will avoid a promotion. It will avoid going to the graduation ceremony. It will avoid many situations in which it is on a stage standing in front of people. However, it's essential to reframe these experiences as learning opportunities rather than setbacks. So we want to learn from the past experience. How do we do that? We go back mentally to that time and we try and elicit the learnings from it as opposed to the pain that we felt from it. Now, once we get the learnings from a situation, we're able to move forward from it. Sorry, the positive learnings, not the negative learnings, of course. We're able to move forward from it and approach the new situation, which is similar, with a new perspective and new confidence. And that all leads into number 3, the growth mindset. Now, I've read a bunch of articles, a bunch of books on what is the growth mindset. And I think it's a very vaguely defined definition, but basically it comes down to the following thing. A fixed mindset believes that abilities and intelligence and all those things are static. So you're either good at something or you are not good at something. And this is a very limiting perspective on it because it discourages you from making an effort. It discourages you from making an effort again if you failed at it the first time. And that leads to a life of frustration and being stuck because I haven't tried it. I probably can't do it. Whereas I haven't tried it, I might be great at it. It's obviously a lot more of a growth mindset perspective. So a growth mindset is about embracing the challenges and seeing them as opportunities. There is no failure. There's only feedback that we try and learn and improve. For example, someone with a growth mindset will see the difficult project not as an unsurmountable obstacle, but as a chance to develop new skills. So when you shift your mindset from a fixed one to a growth mindset, you will be saying, I can't do this. I can't do this yet. So those kind of small things, they ingrain in that beautiful brain of yours that there is room for improvement and personal growth. So the 3 causes I just mentioned here are all interconnected and they're shaping how we view our capabilities and our approaches towards challenges. And by understanding how to address them, we can start to take down these barriers and shut up that little voice in the back of your head to actually start succeeding. Alrighty. So I already touched a little bit on how we overcome limiting beliefs. So maybe it's a fun moment for people to share their limiting beliefs in the chat box. I'll take a few seconds here for people to put in some things. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I can't do this. This is not me. Why me? Am I the right person for this? I guess almost like the classical limiting beliefs. So we identified some common self-sabotaging behaviors. So let's talk about how we overcome these limiting beliefs that are often fueling these actions. So first up, overconfidence in willpower. So many of us, including myself, had this belief that if we just create discipline and will, we're able to crush any obstacle. But unfortunately, the truth is that willpower is a very limited resource. Yes, you can use it to build habits, for example, and systems that reduce the need for constant self-control, but an habit ingrained in your mind. So for example, if you find yourself procrastinating of work because you believe you'll just power through it later, purely on willpower, you'll just put in something in your calendar, oh, between 10 and 11 p.m., I'll just do it. Instead, you can use that willpower to create a schedule or an environment for you to minimize distraction or to increase focus, so that you can build that habit of minimizing distraction and the habit of getting into the focus zone, as opposed to, you know what, later I'm just going to rely on my limited resource of willpower and just power through it. Yes, you can, and as I mentioned, use your willpower for a sustainable habit instead. On perfectionism, we touched upon this earlier. It paralyzes us. It leads to procrastination because our standards are unrealistically high and almost impossible to meet. If the goal is all the way over here and the camera can't see it, but it's all the way over here, then it gets very tough for us to plan a way through there and get there. So for us here, we set realistic, achievable goals, and we celebrate all of the small steps towards that, all of the progress rather than the perfection. So instead of aiming for a flawless scorecard or report or managerial review, we focus on, hey, what are the different parts that I need to improve on? And let's start by this number one, as opposed to all five in one go. And this is something that I learned to embrace later in my career. Done is better than perfect. Yeah, there might be some controversy there. I know not everybody agrees with this. I firmly believe that if you do something and you learn from it, it is probably better than perfect. Another one we touched on earlier is the fear of failure, being afraid to succeed. Yeah, it happens. Oftentimes, this comes from a past experience where failure was met with criticism or negative consequences. As I said, failure is a natural part of the learning progress, and we need to shift our mindset to view failure as an opportunity for growth and learning. There is no failure, there's only feedback. So instead of avoiding tasks because you're afraid of not succeeding, we approach them with a sort of a child's mind. Curiosity. What can you learn from this experience, regardless of whether it's going to end up with an A+ or a B-? What are the learnings that I can extract from this? Earlier, I mentioned when we look back at a situation that causes us, the little boy that peed in his pants on the stage, what are the positive learnings we take away from it? And let's apply those positive learnings on a new, similar situation. And then we had a little conversation about this guy in the back of your head. Not good enough. That dude or woman. Our inner critic is probably the harshest critic we have. It is 24/7 on in the back of your head, and it can lead us to doubt our abilities, who we are, and it will definitely hold us back from putting in our effort. Now, the way to counter this is actually self-compassion and challenging those negative thought patterns. So when you catch yourself thinking, I'm unable to do this, or I'll never be able to do this, you can try and replace it with a more constructive conversation. I'm learning, and every step takes me closer to my goal. Now, we went through this on our neuro-linguistic programming course, and we learned some powerful tools about reframing limiting beliefs. And we do that by altering the process by which this person speaks up. So things we learned are like anchoring positive emotions or using visualization to create new mental associations, as well as many other ways to, limit the impact of our limiting beliefs. But I think the most tangible and actionable one for you is actually to write down on a daily basis all these thoughts happening and all that inner self-talk. And if you just write it down, 2 columns left and right, positive, negative, you'll probably find out that you say a lot more bad stuff to yourself than you should, and start challenging them. Right? How is this true? How is this true for me? What evidence do I have of this not being true? So try and find the counter evidence. You'll find out that if you really deep dig enough, you'll see that you've been telling yourself a lot of stuff about your younger self as opposed to your current self, but you still hold on to that negative voice. All right. So that's on your beliefs. That's literally in your head. Now, obviously, there's other stuff that can influence your tendency to procrastinate. Again, do not take that shot. Social media is a major culprit. It's built for that, right? So stay away from it. I think it's very simple, not just on the activity of scrolling, but also your self-esteem and your motivation. It really affects how you think about yourself. So just small tips here. Cluttered environment hinders focus. This is a well-researched topic. If your desk is or your working environment is cluttered, your mind will also be. So try and minimize the chaos in your environment. And your social circle. You're the average of the 5 people around you. So try and surround yourself with people who do not procrastinate, but instead achieve. And again, the key here is to become aware of these influences and make small changes to your environment and your social interactions to support a more productive mindset. All right, let me take some water here. It's a lot of talking. Yeah. All right, we touched upon this already. Reframing the negative thoughts, the little voice in your head. And we already talked about a list of pros and cons or positives and negatives. So not necessarily going into this slide in too much deep depth. Again, write the list, ask yourself, is this really true? Is there evidence to support it? Or am I just being overly critical? Often these negative thoughts are exaggerated. Like, for example, I'm not great at skiing, therefore I will be a horrible leader. Completely disconnected. There's no correlation between 1 and 2. It's just that at one point in time you weren't good at skiing. So oftentimes these things are not based on the reality. So question their validity. And once you start questioning beliefs, they become less strong. As I mentioned, reframe. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough yet. I'm not good enough. I have skills. I have skills to learn and improve, right? Like you've done since a kid. So yeah, that's on the reframing of the negative thought. Then another part we talked about is breaking down the huge, or we will be talking about it, the breaking down tasks. So oftentimes we feel like we don't achieve anything. And if we don't achieve anything for a long time, it's going to affect our self-confidence. When it affects our self-confidence, it's going to reinstill this belief that we can't do it because we haven't achieved anything. Yeah, been there, done that. So what we do is we set SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So we do this in corporate settings all the time, and they are, yeah, a staple to success and clarity and all that stuff. Often what we don't do is apply the same method in our everyday lives, our personal lives. Whether you have a fitness goal, a personal project you want to work on, you want to start a side business or anything, or you're trying to improve a habit, make it smart, right? If you are really serious about it, you want to be able to chunk down to a very specific goal. You want to be able to keep it measurable so you know that you're on track or off track. You want to be making it achievable so that you know that you can. And of course, time bound and ambitious and time bound and realistic. So there's nothing wrong with applying some corporate knowledge into your personal lives. It will specify and clarify your goals. And once you do that, you can actually measure your progress much better, kicking out the feeling of inadequacy and not being able to achieve anything. And yeah, I touched on this, like making big, audacious goals into smaller, tangible objects. So because you want to start building this progress is better than perfection. So let's break down like large tasks for the main objective into smaller things. So sometimes thinking about I have to climb Mount Everest is pretty overwhelming, I can imagine. But getting to base camp and camp 1 is smaller, more manageable chunks. You can actually look into what do I need to do or learn or improve on to get to base camp, right? What do I need to do? I need to buy a flight. I need to buy these shoes. I never climbed Mount Everest, so I'm not sure. But you can make these small incremental tasks as opposed to climbing Mount Everest. It becomes less intimidating and the actions are much more clear. So once we have all these actions, we can prioritize them by importance or by impact. And then we can just start chipping away at the tasks. And as long as we make progress in every small task, we're actually achieving the main goal without feeling like this because yeah, it doesn't feel like we had this huge project that we're unable to achieve. We just did small tasks and we got there anyway. So less daunting. Um, and then another thing that we talked about, like how else are we going to kick procrastination's ass, is about building accountability. You're not in this alone. There's a lot of people in your environment and your surrounding that want to help you. It's not you against the world. Share your goals with others. It's not about seeking their approval for your goals, but it's about creating a support system. Whether it's your spouse, whether it's your friend, whether it's your colleague, just find a partner you have and you have someone to check in on with your progress. Ask them to ask you on a monthly basis, for example. I have a bunch of people I work with in the US. Every 2 weeks, we have a call and we update each other on the progress we've made on our goals. And what I noticed is that not just for me, but also for the other two people, we actually started when we felt like, oh no, I need to update on something next week, Monday. So let's make sure I do these tasks that I said I would. On top of that, obviously, we can lean on each other's resources for mutual support. So build that system of accountability, checking in with yourself, right? That's the other part of it. It's not just other people, it's also yourself. And yeah, just make your goals a team goal or mission that you involve other people with as a solo thing. It makes it much more attainable. And then we already talked about the environment. All right, becoming your own best friend. Yeah, so it's important to recognize that you, like anyone else, deserve kindness. Yeah, we have this voice in the back of our head that says, probably not true, but it is true. We are our harshest critic. We know everything about ourselves. And that's why the way you talk about yourself can make a world of difference. Acknowledge mistakes without harsh judgment. I made a mistake is different from I made a mistake and therefore I suck. So mistakes are part of learning. There is no failure, there's only feedback. And instead of beating yourself up, look at what are the learnings I can take away from this. How will I approach this differently next time? So it's an opportunity to grow. It is feedback, not failure. And then lastly, celebrate those small wins, right? Celebrate those little steps towards achieving your goal because progress is progress no matter how small. We've all seen this LinkedIn influencer charts about getting 1% better every day. It is true. And it's not just true, it's also important for you to recognize that you are. Making the same mistake tomorrow, making a different mistake tomorrow is better than making the same mistake tomorrow. So learn without judgment from your actions and your outcomes. Recognizing victories, like your small wins, don't just help you make progress faster. It also helps you to reinforce this belief that you are doing things, that you are making progress. And like we talked about earlier, that builds a mindset of I'm achieving stuff, I'm good enough, I'm making progress, right? A very different self-thought. So yeah, it's a tool for sustained growth and productivity. Now, I just want to share a personal anecdote here. I was very bad at this for a long time. Now, I would wake up in the morning at 4:30 a.m. and then go for a run. And oftentimes, before I started work at 9, I would have ran somewhere between 16 or 21 km in a city that is completely silent and dark, right? Because it's very early. People usually sleep around those times. And then I would be trying to make it on time for the sunrise on the beach. And then sometimes it would be too late. And I would be very upset with myself that I did not make it to see the sunrise. If we go back a little bit, like how is this relevant? This means that first of all, I was not kind to myself. Secondly, I was not celebrating that I woke up early in the morning, put on my running shoes, convinced myself to go out for a run, right? The small incremental steps. Instead, I focused on I ran enough, but I didn't make it to the sunrise. I didn't appreciate the small wins. I didn't look at the learning. I just looked at what was bad. Obviously, with some coaching, I learned to change my thought pattern about this and to become my own best friend. So bear in mind that, again, you have control of everything. You just need to do this. Take a little bit of water, guys. Alrighty. So I guess we're almost there. We're gonna run a little bit over time. If people need to jump up before, that's fine. We will be sharing the slides with everybody who signed up for this webinar on email, as well as a special offer that I talked about earlier. But let me quickly get through the next part. So the 2-minute rule. 2-minute rule is very simple. If I can do it in 2 minutes, do it now, as opposed to procrastinating on it. It's very simple. 2 minutes is mentally not too much of a distraction from what you were working on, but it's also a surefire way to get stuff done. So do it immediately, don't schedule it, and build on the momentum of these small tasks. Daily affirmations, yeah. So we've had millions of people writing content about this and making affirmation journals, etc. But yeah, it's very simple, right? It's about writing up the positive as opposed to just the negative, and do it, practice this regularly. So do it on a daily basis to reinforce positive beliefs and to strengthen your self-image. Then we talked about willpower earlier. Like, I'm using willpower to fuel my success. No, use willpower to fuel your consistency, because consistency is more important than perfection, because consistency is habit formation. So in order for you to not procrastinate, become comfortable with doing more so than getting to the ideal outcome. So focus on building a habit, right? I wake up at this time. Wake up at this time. Do it. I think the rule is 60 days in a row or something. So then you have the habit of waking up on time. Then build upon that habit. So this is the theory of the book Atomic Habits that will help you build habits over time and build on top of them. Prioritize regular actions over flawless execution, and embrace the small improvements, not the big ones. Do not go out, see the sunset, run this much, blah, blah. No, look into, I made it to the gym. I was there for 2 minutes, not very long. Next time I'll be there for 3 minutes, right? View it from that perspective. And make sure that whatever habits you build are sustainable. Now, I've seen a lot of people who build habits that are unsustainable, meaning they will either be too exhausting, they are not aligned with my family life, they are not aligned with my long-term goals. Whatever it is, it needs to be a sustainable habit so that you can hold on to it over a longer time. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of internal conflict on how to maintain this habit. A little bit more depth, right? How to build these lasting habits. Start small, be patient, allow time for habits to form, and just keep doing it regularly. It's honestly, use your willpower for this more so than anything else. Now, there's this other thing of why I tried to build this habit, but I had a setback. Ooh. Now, oftentimes when there's a setback, we give up, right? So this is the fixed versus growth mindset. How do we take that as a feedback or as a failure? So embrace, first of all, that you are not good at it yet. It's a learning process. Recognize that they are normal and not a reflection of your worth. They're a reflection of what you still need to learn, and that's a very different thing. So don't let them derail your progress. Setbacks are a stepping stone to improvement more than anything else. Now, one of my favorite songs is called Rejoice. I have never seen the video clip, but there's this one phrase in there that I find extremely powerful. It's not some Catholic or Protestant song. Again, I haven't seen it, but it sounds like a guy screaming on stage. He says the following line: "Even my struggles are a way for me to show off to victory if my mind can handle the change." And I think that very much encompasses not just this entire slide, but pretty much the entire growth mindset. As long as you acknowledge that you struggle and you see the positives in it, a way to show off to victory, to learn and improve, as long as my mind can handle making those changes. You know what? I'll just put the Spotify link in the email later as well, so that you can all enjoy this amazing song. All right. And then, right, when we talk about the sustainability of habits, rest. Rest is probably the most important thing in sustaining anything. Recharge allows time for your mental recovery. Stepping back from the day-to-day allows you to get a bigger picture, to have a different perspective, to look into how somebody else viewed the same situation. And as we touched on earlier, to avoid exhaustion, overwhelming, and prevent a burnout. I've touched upon this many times. Doing is better than perfect. So this is for all the perfectionists out there. I happen to know a few very close. Procrastination because of perfectionism is a major roadblock, and it will lead to, not just procrastination, but also burnout. So it's easy to get caught up in the idea it has to be perfect, and you can't move forward without it being perfect. But the truth is, striving for perfection often means you never get started or finish anything. Never getting started affects your own mental well-being, your own confidence, and not finishing anything, not just your confidence, but also how other people view you, because apparently you're unable to deliver on the stuff that you think or you said you would. So recognize the patterns. Like so many things, it starts with awareness. What are the moments that are holding you back because you're not satisfied with it's good enough? Or I need to change the icon, I need to change the color, I need to do this, I need to do that. Basically, nothing gets done. So again, set realistic standards that are achievable, make it smart, keep on coming back to making smart goals, and embrace that good enough is progress. And progress is, of course, everybody's on mute, so I can't expect you guys to cheer. Progress is better than perfection. Recognize that. Recognize those small steps. Work smarter, not harder. Yeah, so a few more quick, I guess all of you guys are aware of these, right? How to, in a tangible way, overcome procrastination. It is by setting the Pomodoro thingy, the 25 working intervals. It is by scheduling time in your calendar for specific tasks, like Elon Musk does it, or the Eisenhower matrix, which is basically a way to prioritize your tasks by urgency and importance. I'll put in a few links in the email as well. Basically, what it comes down to in the Eisenhower matrix is this quadrant: important, not important, urgent, not urgent. Write down the tasks that you have in each of the quadrant, and then start working on the things that are, guess what, important and urgent. Very straightforward. Make sure that those tasks are bite-sized so that you can finish them, wink, so that you can feel good about finishing those tasks. Alrighty, learn to embrace failure. Yeah, this is all about the growth mindset. Fear of failure is the biggest hurdle to overcome when it comes to kicking procrastination's ass. Nagging voice in your head: what if I mess up? What if I can't do this? Blah, 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 blah. All these things are there to keep you stuck in your place, making you afraid of taking that first step. But failure is not the end, it's a stepping stone to success. Again, there is no failure, there's only feedback, correct? So how do we do this? We redefine what failure actually means to us ourselves. Instead of seeing failure as something we need to avoid at all costs, start viewing it as feedback. Every time something doesn't go as planned, there's a lesson in it. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? This allows your mindset to shift from fearing failure to embrace learnings. And when you embrace the positive learnings or learnings in general, you're able to do a better job next time, setting you up for success. Visualize success. Now, we've all seen like these progress charts, etc., in our work life, but we very rarely do these things for ourselves when it comes to our personal life. Now, set visualizations of what success looks like. So picture yourself overcoming the obstacles is one way, but the other one for me is like having charts. Like I'm this far towards my running objectives. It drives me forward because I can see all the stuff that I've done already and how little there's actually left. So it creates mental images of success being progress more so than the end result. And just take small risks. There's nothing wrong with taking small, manageable risks. So start with challenges that push you just outside your comfort zone, but still, like, you can still reach your comfort zone. And then gradually expand on that. Each small success builds your confidence and your resilience, helping you to tackle the bigger challenges down the line. So next time when your fear starts creeping in, remember that it's okay to stumble. because what matters more is getting back up, taking the learnings from this experience where you stumbled and applying those learnings next time so that you're able to succeed then. And then I think this is one of the very final slides is knowing your why. Now, there's Simon Sinek with this philosophy of start with why, that brands sell better, but it applies to us as well. If we're able to understand why things are important to us and the highest level of purpose you can imagine, we're able to link back the things we do towards what we want to achieve. So let's say our achievement is to run a marathon, right? Big goal. Why do I want to run a marathon? Because I want to be healthy. Okay, that's a nice goal. Why do I want to be healthy? Because I want to give my kid the mindset of health is important, or I want to become more disciplined. And if I'm more disciplined, then I can do that. So ask yourself why, and ultimately you will find like you'll identify a thing that you deeply desire and use that as a fuel to drive your actions. So instead of looking at the action that you need to do, you look at the purpose you want to achieve and how that action naturally fits into that purpose. Could be personal ambition, could be a career goal. It could be a desire to make a positive change in the world. It could be one of many things. And again, we visualize that progress and we celebrate the small wins every day. Yeah, I guess we touched on this already. I might have gotten carried away with my enthusiasm. Continuous improvement. So we reflect, right? What did we do? Could we have done better? What are the learnings we get from it? We adjust this and we implement the learnings. Dr. Joe Dispenza, in his book Rewire Your Brain, talks about that people learn through 3 steps. One is awareness, becoming aware we need to learn something. 2 is instruction, being told what to do. And 3 is making adjustments. Very similar to this, right? Once we realize we need to improve on something, we can look up a YouTube video or we can try it out ourselves. We give ourselves instructions how to do this job, and then we learn from it and we implement those learnings again. So ultimately a cycle of continuous improvement that is more important than perfection. Doing is better than perfect. Anybody who's ever worked in a startup will 100% acknowledge this. This is I guess a philosophy. And then as the 4 last slide, thanks for sticking with me for about an hour already. And thanks for my voice still holding up. And to all the guys that did do shots when they heard the word procrastination, I am amazed that you guys are still here. So when is it time to start kicking procrastination ass? You guessed it, today, now. So how are we going to do this? We're going to start taking small steps. We're going to celebrate those little successes. We are no longer going to look at Mount Everest. We're going to look at base camp and it needs to get there. We're going to be consistent in our habits. We're going to celebrate our consistency and believe that doing is better than perfect. And we're going to believe in ourselves. Now, I'm going to write down what we say positively and negatively, and we're going to challenge those negative associations that we have towards ourselves. Guys, you can do this. You now have a lot of actionable steps that you can take to kick procrastination's ass. So I just want to thank everybody for joining this very first webinar recording we've ever made. I hope you found this very helpful in overcoming your procrastination and your self-sabotage. If you're interested in personalized coaching, DIC workshops, or other training programs, we have a bunch of them. We just haven't listed all of them online just yet. So give our website a visit, www.coachup.sg, and drop us a note there in the contact form. We're happy to discuss how we can further support your personal growth. Maybe your team needs some help. Maybe your team on DIC, or you're blocking, or your team is blocked on mindset. We're happy to figure out how we can support you guys. And as mentioned, there's a special offer. So everybody who made it all the way to the end of this workshop will give you a 30% discount on your next workshop, or your team coaching, or your personal coaching. We're happy to do. Obviously, we want to have as much impact in everybody's life, as much positive impact in everybody's lives as possible. And if this is a way for you to completely unstuck yourself, more than happy to support it at a discount. As well as the one attendee that gave in the most questions in the chat box. The team will be looking at it as we speak, and we'll get in touch with that lucky winner. What we'll do, we'll give you a full DIC assessment. So we're going to ask you to fill in, I think, 25 questions on our website. You'll get a report which is worth about 200 US. And then we'll have a coaching session on that to really deep dive into your behaviors towards others and behaviors towards situations, and how you can improve on your behavior and lean into behaviors of others. All right, I want to thank everybody for sticking with me for such a long time. Wishing you a great day or a great evening if you are in the US. And we'll be releasing more workshops over the next few weeks and months. Some of the topics we discussed today really deserve their own dedicated webinar. So yeah, just be on the lookout on our Instagram, our YouTube, and definitely our LinkedIn. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today.